I grew up in a household where my family and I knew God but didn't know Him personally. I went through my childhood in a sense questioning life, everything about it, but didn't have the outlet to go to. When I got to middle school, I started to get picked on for just being me. There was a time someone threw a rock at my head and the principal said it was just a cough drop. It was hard to stay myself when I couldn't speak the truth because no one would listen. There was never a reason why I got bullied, it just seemed to be something that persisted. I felt out of place, and I seemed I never had a solid friend group. I would be all around the board. In high school it continued, I kept searching for approval, which led to sexual sin. I soon became the star of rumors. While some of these rumors weren't true, there were some that were true. I would walk through the halls of my high school and hear people speak of a guy that I was with, and everything that happened with him right behind my back. It was really hard to hear verbally. There were times these rumors would come up at the dinner table, which my mom didn't know whether to believe me or not, leading to my mom not trusting me anymore. These rumors also led to me floating around friend groups and at times seeming like I had no one. I still had my best friend, my second family, that did know God personally, and I could come to them with anything and any hurt, and I would be prayed for. During my senior year, our family found out that my dad was diagnosed with stage 4 colon cancer, which made my life do a 360. When I found out my dad was diagnosed, it did not hit me at all. It didn't seem real. But once I saw him in the hospital, that's when I knew it was real, and my dad was dying. But through all this hurt, my best friend was there for me in every moment. She was the light that led me to Crew, to wanting that community that I was deprived of. When I came to Stevens Point during the first week of school, someone told me about Crew Thursday nights at 8, and I knew right away that I wanted to go. But I was left without friends, which led to me drinking with my roommate and her friends. And I knew I was doing something wrong in my little faith that I had, but I kept doing it because she was doing it, and I had no one to talk to about it. After about 3 weeks of hesitation and not knowing who to go to with to Crew, I went, even though the friend that invited me didn't show up. But I felt that I was called to go, and right away I knew these people cared about me. I could come to them with anything. I will be honest, it was hard for me. I felt uncomfortable, but I went, and I knew I wanted the community, and I wanted it bad. I wanted my life to change, and I just never knew where to start. But there I was at Crew, and that night I heard about something happening that was called Fall Getaway. 2 girls encouraged me to go with them. So I said, why not? I am doing nothing anyway. I went, and I was brought into this community of Christians with loving arms. Not until this moment did I find out that following God was all about a personal relationship. There was one night at Fall Getaway where I wrote on a slip of paper one thing that I wanted to give up. And I wrote on the paper my dad's cancer. And I threw the slip of paper attached to the color packet into the fire, and I felt overwhelming peace come over me, and I began to cry. In that moment, God told me that everything would be all right, my dad's cancer, my endless pile of sin, and eternity. I never knew I would surrender my life to Christ, but there I was in awe of the man that created the universe. From surrendering my life to Christ to now, I am still learning to be vulnerable and allowing myself to be loved by others. I struggled with living 2 lives, one for Christ and one for my own sinful life of drinking. When I finally realized how amazing it is to be a child of God and allowing people to pour into me, I was able to let people know who I am all the way down to the core. It's hard for me to open up, even though I am standing right before you, sharing how I came to Christ. There's a story behind every story. I want to leave you with 2 things. 1, don't be afraid to jump out of your comfort zone. The best things are experienced when you are uncomfortable. I cannot stress enough that if God calls you to something, don't be afraid to do it. God tells us in Matthew 28:19-20, therefore go and make disciples of all nations, baptizing them in the name of the Father, and the Son, and of the Holy Spirit, and teaching them to obey everything I commanded you. And surely I am with you always, to the very end of the age. 2, miracles do happen. I told you how my dad was diagnosed with stage 4 colon cancer. Well, just over 1 year later, August 20th, 2018, my dad is cancer-free. Never give up. God is worth it. If any part of my story resonated with you, or you just want to say hi, I'll be in the back after you. Thank you.